Hey everybody, it's Aluna Michaels, Esoteric Astrologer. How are you doing? I'm here talking to you about events of July 2015 from an esoteric spiritual perspective. Okay, so let's first talk about, this is something I'm going to repeat in August and maybe even September, but the planet Saturn has gone back into Scorpio. It was in Sagittarius since last Christmas, and then it started going backwards in March and just peaks back into Scorpio. That started mid-June, and it's going to be there all of July, August, and midway through September. But at the beginning of August, it's going to go forward, and that's going to be helpful. Again, I'll talk about that as we go these few months. But what can be happening with that Saturn going back into Scorpio, and not to give Scorpios a bad rap or something, but you know, Saturn is an intense sign, and a planet, excuse me, and Scorpio is definitely an intense sign, and it can be like a sign of reckoning, and getting really examining yourself deeply and all of that. And Saturn is really the esoteric point of Saturn. Now that we know there's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and probably more planets, Saturn is like last of what we call the personal planets, or at least planets we can see with the naked eye. And then there's a big, big, big jump till Uranus and then Neptune and Pluto. So Saturn is like, you gotta have your ducks in a row before you get into these more transpersonal energies and more even intense energies of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Saturn really makes sure you got, again, the ducks in a row, and crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So when it's in Scorpio, it's especially, oh God, looking at all this stuff, So those themes, Scorpio themes just can be about sex, money, power, addiction, your dark side, encountering other people's dark sides, looking at past life karma, like why you're attracting certain people, and just feel like, especially this month of July, because I think August will be better because it'll be in Scorpio, but at least it's going forward and moving out. But it can be like a feeling, oh, I'm in this stuff again. Like I thought I was making progress and I'm looking at it again and feeling hopeless and stuff like that can be coming up. It is a really good time to be working on a budget or seeing how you spend money, just looking at how you use your power. It could be sexual power, personal energy, what you do with your day. Are you making progress in your own goals? And if not, why not? Like, how is that time being spent? Because that can be sort of a Scorpio issue too. Self-worth. What kind of thoughts are you thinking that pull yourself down? That kind of stuff is that kind of return back into that Saturn and Scorpio. Now, why I'm also emphasizing that, is the planet Venus is going to be going retrograde. Now, Mercury goes retrograde pretty frequently. Venus has more of a deeper pattern even than the Mercury. So Venus is going to go retrograde. It's going to pop into Virgo. And that's going to be the 19th of July. Then it goes backwards starting the 25th of July, stays retrograde until the 6th of September. And then for those of you who know some astrology, it crosses the point at which it retrograded on October 8th. But what's interesting is that Venus will come out of retrograde on September 6th, and then Saturn's changing signs going back into Sagittarius like a week later. So these things are kind of tied in, the Venus retrograding and the Saturn in Scorpio. What I will say that's intriguing too, well, let me start here with the Venus retrograde. Especially because it's retrograding in Virgo, it can be self-critical, and it's like, and again, Venus is about money, and Virgo is about putting things in order, so all sorts of budgeting and all of that. It's also about love, let's say love with another person, and critiquing your own way you are in partnership. Let's say not criticizing, but seeing what could be improved upon, separating the wheat from the chaff, what goes, what stays, what's helpful, what's just Another interesting thing about Venus retrograde is it follows this pattern of 8 years. And it kind of creates this 8-pointed star when you follow the patterns of retrograding. But so it was July 2007 that it retrograded almost at the same point. So it can be an interesting thing to look at relationships since that 2007. Look at your own personal self-worth, which is another thing you can be examining, will be examining with the Venus being in Virgo and going backwards like that. And most of the time it's retrograde, it's actually doing in Leo, but it's starting it in Virgo. So this whole time of these 8 years, maybe re-examining those kind of things and setting new goals for money, for savings, for relationship connection, healthy sexuality, healthy self-esteem, self-love, compassion for others. These kind of things are Venus topics, and again they're kind of leading into and blending in with that last of that Saturn and Scorpio. Keep in mind with Saturn, it moves through a sign once every 30 years, so that's a big deal, whereas Venus does it once a year, but these retrograde patterns are once every 8 years. So that is a lot to look at. And some interesting news though, it's just kind of intriguing about this, is that as the Venus retrogrades, and you might have heard about Venus and Jupiter being really bright in the sky, like last week. Well, Jupiter's in Leo, about to go into Virgo, so it's kind of hanging out there with the Venus retrograde for a little while, like all through July. They're kind of close together, and close enough, not like exactly, but close enough to be lending a sense of optimism, like you can get through this, there is more on the other side of this. Because the other portion is that as Venus retrogrades, there's the Saturn sitting there, and Saturn actually making a square to the Venus, which is harder. So it's almost like you could be really optimistic about the changes you want to make, or feel again like, oh, I'll never get better, I'm always doing the same stuff in my head, or repeating the same cycles, or da-da-da-da. So it's real important to be, look at what is not working, what is coming up again, what is the next avenue of action to take to challenge yourself to overcome a pattern. And to be also, because there's all that sort of like Saturn hard work stuff, the way Saturn's working with Venus, but Jupiter is blessings and Jupiter is grace. So also giving equal time to gratitude, to at least knowing there is abundance in the universe with finances, and you can open up to more, receive more of that. I like the idea of quantum possibilities, that there's many, many ways you can be interacting with the soul you're involved with, or many souls you could be getting involved with if you're single or choosing to leave a relationship, that sort of thing. It's like, this is not the end of the road, because Saturn retrograde and the Venus retrograde, and it can feel like this is it, this is what I always get. And so to move toward that Jupiter, like there's more possibilities. There's what else can I manifest? And you need to get out of your own way or find the things that are blocking the abundance, which is kind of why they're there together. But you don't want to get too deep in your junk. You want to really have that balance, so you're feeling that Jupiter-Venus retrograde part. And that also can bring, even with that Saturn there too, that feels cucky, is bringing in positive past life possibilities, things kind of to your rescue. You can tap into abundance that's due you from past lives, or relationships, a new relationship with the person you're with, but it only happens if you're throwing out the old, so that's that balance. Okay, so let me look at some other little things here. Oh yeah, I don't want to forget this one. So the planet Mars is in Cancer, and actually I should talk about this. So of course the Sun's in Cancer. And Mercury will go through Cancer this July. So Pluto is in Capricorn, which is the opposite of Cancer. So Pluto is power issues. It's linked with Scorpio. So the Sun's going to oppose Pluto, Mercury will oppose Pluto, and Mars will oppose Pluto at different times here. Thank God they're not doing it all at once, because that would be like, ah! So on the 6th, which is Monday, oh, sorry, it was FedEx guy ringing the bell. Monday the 6th, the Sun will be opposing Pluto. You can see people in general whoops, people in general can feel put upon, Pluto is forces beyond your control, and the sun is my ego, people can feel grumpy. So just in general, be aware that people are going through this, and can feel frustrated. And again, we're dealing with all that Saturn doing its thing, Venus getting ready to retrograde, so people can feel very shut down or defensive or aggressive even, just kind of jerky. So there's that Sun opposed Pluto there. And then, well, Mercury and Mars actually do kind of work together between, let's see, the 15th of July, 15th, 16th, 17th, that's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Mercury and Mars are close together, opposing that Pluto. So Mercury is communication, Mars is anger or direct, and the Pluto, it can feel the people like, I never get my way, or I'm going to tell you off, or I've been mad about this a really long time, because Cancer can really hold a lot of resentment, especially with family or with work stuff, just in general. If you have any eating issues, that also can be a thing. You watch yourself taking it out by overeating or even spending. Just watch for that stuff. You say, why am I eating this? I must be angry. Let me look at this. What am I feeling frustrated about? But in general, it's like not the greatest time to give someone a piece of your mind kind of thing. And if people are doing that to you, it would be really good to think globally, what's that person going through? It may not be just about you. It's like they have a terrible marriage and they're frustrated with you because you're their coworker about something, and it's like, this is really about a greater unhappiness. Or, we talked about eating issues, even people battling with sugar addiction and stuff like that can be a thing, eating too much sugar and being angry. You can watch people be in patterns like that. It's like, kind of like take it with a grain of salt. But it's important to acknowledge that person's feelings about it. I really hear what you're saying, but could you give me time to think about it and get back to you another day or something like that, instead of going in and defending yourself back to them, because it'll just, do that. So, so you want to acknowledge it, but then say, okay, let's talk about it in a few days when those planets have moved away. So, and the other thing that can be going on a spiritual level with those Cancer planets opposing Pluto is like your frustration of being in the limited consciousness. Like, why am I not manifesting the things that I want? I do all this stuff and it's not breaking through. Or it could just be, again, a lead in to that Venus retrograde. What could I be doing more of? How am I creating blocks for myself? And not to beat yourself up, but just kind of saying, if I feel frustrated, how can I make life easier for myself by moving on to like a fourth dimensional possibility where I have more at my fingertips than I do when I'm here? So more meditation, more forgiveness, asking for a greater picture that's above what your ego is seeing. That can be all very helpful. Okay, so I think I've talked long enough. Don't want to keep you too long. If you'd like a personal session with me, remember my website is alunamichaels.com. You can contact me through there. And I've got my ebook on my website about the 12 gifts of the astrological signs. And yeah, I guess that's it. So hang in there and just know that this is about, getting the rewards that are due you. We're just going to, and again, not to put them Scorpios down, but we want to get through that Saturn and Scorpio, because that's a tough combo, like we said. And everyone's going through that, once every 30-year purification time. And so hang in there, enjoy your July, and I'll see you in August.